Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and I just hit rank 5 in the world on the Pokemon Go Battle League leaderboards with Melmetal in the Open Great League. Now, Melmetal may seem like a bit of an off-the-wall pick, but a lot of teams are really disrespecting Steel types right now. I did look at Registeel, but its combination of no fast move pressure and slow pacing honestly to me felt unplayable. But Melmetal, while it does have issues in terms of its bulk, is very spammy with double Iron Bash and Superpower. And to round out the team, I have 2 water types in the back to cover it against fire and against ground. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and take a look at the team in action. And we're off to a great start in game number 1, leading Melmetal into Credilli. And the Credilli is not swapping out, which means that this opponent is core broken by the Melmetal. And that's kind of the thought process behind Melmetal. I noticed that a lot of people were running Registeel, but to me, Registeel does not feel good to use whatsoever, with it having 0 fast move pressure and not the greatest pacing. Whereas Melmetal, it's a lot glassier, but you're a lot faster to these charge moves. Here, Credilli is going to keep spamming out Rock Tombs. I end up safe switching into the Golisopod when they're energy dry, because if they stay in, Golisopod can outpace, and that's going to force a switch out, and Jumpluff hits the field. This being the non-Shadow Jumpluff is actually worse for me, because since it is the non-Shadow Jumpluff, it takes the Shadow Claws and X-Scissors a lot better. I think I'm just going to let Golisopod go. Golisopod has done its job, Acrobatics picks up the KO, and now I can send in Melmetal, overfarm and play to the CMP Tide. The 2 Thunder Shocks plus the double Iron Bash will KO. In the back is Gastrodon. I send in a Azumarill, and Credilli re-hits the field of play. Credilli is going to be firing off a Rock Tomb bait, but even though I know it's going to be a Rock Tomb, I need to keep Azumarill healthy. I need to keep Azumarill outside of a range where an Earth Power plus Mud Slaps will be able to knock out. Here my opponent is going to try and CMP time me, but I'm not going to fall for it. I want residual energy, so I will be able to make a Play Rough versus the Gastrodon. However, being debuffed, my Play Rough is not going to do a lot, so I will need to switch out into the Melmetal. We make it to a Superpower, and that is incredibly important. Superpower is going to inflict very nice damage, and now that's pretty close to Bubble plus Play Rough range. They're going to go for an Earth Power, but Earth Power will not be enough to knock out. This is a very bulky XL Azumarill. We get to the Play Rough, and now, will this be enough to secure the KO? Play Rough leaves it on 1 HP. They have a move, but the thing is, it's only a Body Slam. We hang on, and that's going to be a Game 1 win. We move into game number 2, leading Melmetal into Shadow Drapion. On paper, this should be a pretty good matchup. You're Steel type, you're double resisting Poison Stings, but Shadow Drapion has been meta for many seasons for very good reason. Crunch is going to do big damage. I'm going to unleash a Superpower and then look to pivot out. Superpower is going to land. There's a safe switch into Azumarill. Normally, Golisopod would be the safe switch for this team, but against the Drapion lead, I want to try and absorb energy here. They are going to fire off a Crunch. They do get a Crunch debuff. They bank a move, and now Dugong hits the field. Dugong, unfortunately, I would rather see it anywhere else but here. So I keep farming up with the Azumarill. I know the switch timers are misaligned, which is something that can potentially work in my favor. Drill Run does quite a bit of damage since my defense has been lowered by that Crunch. I return fire with the Play Rough, and the switch timer will be available. So I take advantage. I send in Golisopod. They're just going to fire off an Icy Wind just to burn their clock, apply a debuff, and then they'll be able to switch out. Their final Pokemon, it's a Azumarill, and that's not what I was hoping to see whatsoever. This is rapidly going downhill. Golisopod can win the 2-shield versus Azumarill, but the issue is, with me being debuffed, I can't really apply any consistent damage here, so I just need to try and burn as much Switch Clock as I possibly can. Opponent is going to be firing off some energy. I am going to commit the shield. My clock is available. I'm expecting them to do 3 in the move, but they end up doing 2 in the move, and that's forcing me to burn my final shield. So things are honestly not going well here. I farm up with a Melmetal, in comes the Drapion, and this is going to be such a tough game to win. I think that I have to bring in Golisopod and Shadow Claw down. I'm already at 100, or pretty close to 100. I am at 100 now, but I need all this energy to threaten the Azumarill. The Azumarill re-hits the field. They should be now 2 off of their game-winning move. So I am going to keep doing 1 in the move, 1 in the move. I am not at another move, so I do 1, switch, and get a catch onto Azumarill of the Ice Beam. And now they're going to need a perfect undercharge to win the game. They do go for the undercharge here. but it's just not enough. I survive on 1 HP, make the Ice Beam, force the shield, I'm one off the move with the Golisopod, and despite the fact that everything felt like it was going wrong in this game, with a catch and way too much Golisopod energy, we are going to fight off a very tough matchup, and we're going to get a Game 2 win. Moving into the third game, leading Melmetal into Claydol. Oh, this is a disastrous lead. But the good news is I have 2 answers to Claydol. That was kind of the thought process behind team building, as I wanted 2 Pokemon in the back that would be able to handle Claydol, as that's the Mud Slapper that I see the most. They are going to commit an early shield. Claydols love to shield and then debuff with Rock Tombs, and then they'll be able to pivot out. In comes Lapras, and debuff, this is not a good matchup for Golisopod, but this game is a very important lesson in terms of understanding the misalignment of switch timers. My opponent stayed in, shielded a move of mine, and they ended up throwing a move themselves, which means my switch clock is available. Theirs is still not. I can bring in the Melmetal. I'm very happy taking moves here because I know eventually I'm going to get farmed down by Claydol. I just want to overfarm and try and exit with as much energy as I possibly can. So I farm up to the back-to-back superpowers. I have an X-Scissor banked for later on the Golisopod if I do need it, and Claydol re-enters the field. Claydol immediately met with a debuff double Iron Bash. That's not going to do a whole lot. They do unfortunately get the farm down, but I have a Azumarill, which is going to do very well into the Claydol, and if I need it, I have a move available on Golisopod. They are going to go for the Rock Tomb, and I'm never going to be shielding. This Rock Tomb does not hit particularly hard. In the back is Talonflame, so with Lapras baited out, they are ABA weak to the Azumarill, but there's still a lot of work to do in this game. So I'm farming up a ton with the Azumarill. Talonflame farms to 100, and suddenly I see the win con. I get 0-turn switch here, and Golisopod wins CMP, so we go for the CMP sack swap, forcing my opponent to throw a move onto the Golisopod when it was aimed at the Azumarill, but winning the CMP tie. That forces their final shield. They switch out, but they get 1-turn switch, and I get 0-turn switch because I'm bringing a Pokemon into the field and they're switching out. So I outpace by a singular turn, KO with the Ice Beam, farm down the Talonflame, and we're 3-0 in the set. Unfortunately, we've got the same lead in the next match, leading into another Claydol. The safe switch into Golisopod. Golisopod going to fire off this Aqua Jet. Aqua Jet into the Claydol, actually gets no shielded. That's a pretty big surprise, but it works out amazingly for me, because now the Claydol is really close to double Iron Bash range. Opponent is going to pivot out into their own Golisopod, and I am going to be firing off the X-Scissor. This normally does quite a bit of damage, but I'm debuffed by the Rock Tomb, so my opponent tanks it pretty comfortably. This is just about X-Scissor KO range. I no shield Golisopod with 1 HP, hangs on, makes a last second X-Scissor, and that's an incredibly clutch survive. In comes Melmetal, and now if they bring in the Claydol, Claydol will immediately be threatened with a double Iron Bash. Opponent is not going to bring in the Claydol, they're going to bring in Talonflame, and Talonflame will be answered with the Azumarill. Talonflame throws instantly. More often than not, when it's an instant throw on 3, it's a Brave Bird, and I get the call right. In comes the Claydol, I think I can bubble down, and I get it. That is such a big farm down for Azumarill. Back in comes Talonflame, and I'm going to be able to put in quite a bit of work here. Ice Beam grabbing the first shield. Ice Beam going to be grabbing shield number 2. But the big thing for me is each bubble that lands moves it closer and closer to a range where a Melmetal could knock out. They will need a Brave Bird here if they want to pick up the knockout. Brave Bird KOs the Azumarill. In comes the Melmetal. We make the superpower. And despite back-to-back Claydol leads, we're moving to 4-0 in this set. Hopping into game number 5, Melmetal into Talonflame, not a good lead. I'm going to throw 1 Thundershock, safe switch into Golisopod, and my opponent is going to stay in this matchup. Them staying is amazing for me because Talonflame has a losing matchup here in the 2s against Golisopod. Golisopod, while these neutral Incinerates do quite a bit of damage, Talonflame cannot farm down because they're not running Flame Charge. So I'm very comfortable playing this out, firing off the Aqua Jets. The opponent, they're going to have to switch. They can't throw this next Incinerate or they're just going to lose switch and their entire Talonflame. So they will be forced to pivot out. In comes Gastrodon. Arguably, I think I should have saved this energy and just sent in the Azumarill, but in the moment, I just wanted some chip damage. So I fire off that energy, send in the Azumarill, and now I'm going to look to farm. They will go for the Earth Power. I'm going to look to throw on their 10th Mud Slap, which is one before they get to the second Earth Power. My opponent only commits to a Body Slam, though. And then throwing the Body Slam, it does get them a little bit of chip damage, but now I get to exit this matchup one off of my next Ice Beam. And exiting at 99 energy is very, very clutch in this particular matchup. Now my opponent is going to send out Diggersby, and Diggersby will immediately be hit with quite a lot of damage from the Ice Beam. I'm staying in with the Azumarill. The opponent throws a move, but they only did 6. It's 7 to the first. Fire Punch is not going to KO. I have a very bulky Azumarill. In comes the Talonflame. They're forced to throw energy as the Incinerate does not KO either. Talonflame knocks out with the Fly. In comes Melmetal. I'm comfortable with taking a Fly. If they tried to go for a potential Brave Bird, I would have had to catch or throw my move, but since they went for the Fly, I can just get a full farm down. In comes Diggersby, and I have the back-to-back superpowers, and that is going to clutch things here for us. Melmetal standing strong despite some really rough leads, knocking out the Diggersby, and that clinches the 5-0 set, which takes us to 29-25 elo on the doorstep of Legend. Now, for the remainder of these games, I'm just going to be showing a few selected games from other sets that I did with the team. So, we're going up against a multi-time regional champion in Elite. Elite leading Shadow Sableye. This is not a good matchup for Melmetal. Melmetal actually loses all even shields here. I think in hindsight, the better play for me was just to stay in here, and after this next move lands, I don't believe they can get a farm down. But I try to snipe with the Shadow Claw, they react in time to save the move, and now they send out Jumpluff. Jumpluff, not what Golisopod is hoping to see whatsoever. They do have enough for the acrobatics, and I have a tough call to make. I decide to respect it, and I get baited with an Aerial Ace. That is so unfortunate. I farm up, firing off the X-Scissor, but things are not looking great for me here. There's a Sableye with a move. Jumpluff, I mean, they have no reason other than to just full send the acrobatics here. I will end up committing the shield. I was worried about a potential snipe from the Sableye, so I fire off the move instantly. X-Scissor is going to be shielded up. I'm farming, but I don't time the catch correctly. I was going to do 4 and then switch into the Melmetal, but he throws on 3, and Aerial Ace will pick up the KO. In comes Azumarill. I'm going to do 4, wait the turn, but the patience. Oh my goodness, he's not falling for anything. Unfortunately, I'm going to get knocked out by the Aerial Ace. In comes the Azumarill. Now it's going to be the acrobatics. And Azumarill, I basically need it to be a Guzzlord in the back to win this game. I overfarm as much as I dare. At long last, the Jumpluff will finally be removed from the field of play, but it's Clodsire in the back. There's no chance of winning, and I am going to resign the match. We move to the next match, Melmetal into Registeel. Now, as long as shields are up, this is amazing for Melmetal. Melmetal is going to strike first, firing off a Superpower. Superpower is going to connect. Registeel going to return fire with a Focus Blast. I'm always going to be shielding up here. They actually bait with the Zap Cannon, fishing for a debuff. In comes a Talonflame safe switch, and Talonflame, honestly, I'm very happy to see it here with my Azumarill. I'm running a very, very high rank Azumarill, which means in most situations, I can barely survive the Fly plus Brave Bird double up. And that has saved me quite a few times in the past. So I'm able to land the Ice Beam. I'm just going to let this go. Brave Bird, I should live it on 1 HP. They end up going for a Fly, which is an interesting play. This tells me they want farm. They are intentionally not knocking me out, but I don't want to give them farm, so I bank the play rough. I send in Melmetal. Despite the fact that I gave them 6 free turns of energy, I'm going to get the double superpower before they get their next move. Registeel just so slow. Superpower picking up the knockout. In the back is Credilli, and oh my goodness, Melmetal having a feast. I am already double debuffed on attack and defense, so the double Iron Bash does basically nothing. I am just looking to preserve the Melmetal and try and pivot out. They're going to go for the Grass Knot. I send in Azumarill, and I will launch the Ice Beam. Ice Beam is super effective damage, but Credilli, they know there's going to be a move coming from the Melmetal, so they're forced to actually no-shield there. They are going to play to the CMP tie here. Nice energy management from my opponent, but now I can just bring in Golisopod because from full health, Golisopod does not get KO'd by a Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb does a ton of damage, don't get me wrong, but in this instance, I have enough health where I can survive, get the Shadow Claw down, and take the win. Our next opponent is Beill, who was 4th at the World Championships this past August. And it's a bit of an awkward lead, Melmetal into Corviknight. I'm going to wait for them to throw and then go for double superpower. Opponent is going to try and catch onto Runerigus, and arguably I make a mistake here. I believe I should have just brought in the Azumarill, but I've never seen a Runerigus this season, so when I saw the typing, I just said, oh, Ghost type, and brought in Golisopod. They Rock Tomb. I thought that I could make it to an Aqua Jet by no shielding, but I can't. And now, unfortunately, I've probably just lost this game. This was just very poorly played by me. If I brought in Azumarill into the Runerigus, Azumarill would have been a lot more comfortable there. In comes the Corviknight. I don't really want to shield a move from Corviknight, so I'm going to no-shield the Iron Head. And now I'm going to bring in Melmetal. Melmetal is going to be launching these superpowers at the Corviknight. Superpower number 1 is going to connect. They're firing off another charge attack, and I am still holding on to my shields. I am now very, very low. I do want to make it to a double Iron Bash against the Runerigus, so I will fire off the superpower. I undertap the double Iron Bash, but that's not the Runerigus, that's a Guzzlord, and that's a misplay by me. Superpower maybe could have put it into Ice Beam range, whereas now it's in Play Rough range, and Play Rough is more expensive. So I will fire off the Play Rough. That's going to be shielded up by the Guzzlord, and I'm going to need perfect energy management to win this game. I shield up the Brutal Swing, in comes the Runerigus, and I know that I have to be within 3 of a Play Rough to have a chance to win this game. So I'm going to need to do 4 and the move, but my opponent gets there, and unfortunately this game will end in a loss. Cool pick from Beill, and unfortunately I just did not have the answers. We move into the final match, leading Melmetal into a Dunsparce. Now, this is a Pokemon I have not seen in quite some time. More than happy to stay in here, play this out with the Melmetal. Melmetal, they actually throw an alignment here, which is interesting. I guess wanting to avoid me doing 7 and a superpower. They drill run. I throw 1 in the superpower. I was trying to make sure that I visually saw the rollout, but unfortunately that just gives them a sneak that they shouldn't have gotten. But the good news is even with that, Melmetal's pacing, I just strictly outpace. Double superpower picks up the KO. In comes Azumarill, and I pivot into Golisopod. Now, Golisopod only wins the 2 shield here, so you best believe I am going to be double shielding this Golisopod. My opponent has no reason to switch out. They're absolutely going to stay in here because they fully wall Golisopod's energy, but if I double shield, I can make life very uncomfortable for them. Here, my opponent ends up throwing on alignment, and by doing so, they end up cycle resetting me, so I'm forced to go over 100 energy, which is not ideal. I should have done 4 in the move there, but I wasn't expecting them to throw on alignment. So, in a weird way, by them throwing on alignment, they ended up forcing me to throw on alignment as well. I fire off another Aqua Jet at the Azumarill. Azumarill is gonna no-shield, trying for the Play Rough. They don't get there. In the back, oh no, trainer, it's a Talonflame, and I don't even need Azumarill this game. Watch this Golisopod. It demolished Azumarill, and it's about to absolutely send Talonflame packing. Back to back to back Aqua Jets. This does not knock out, but it will put them into farm down range. I switch into Melmetal, snipe down with the Thunder Shocks, and that's a good game. All in all, I did have a lot of fun with this team. I had some hope that it would end up being a leaderboard personal best, so I'm very happy to equal my best, which is rank 5. I was hoping that maybe there might be an opportunity to break into the top 4, but unfortunately it was not to be. But I think this team goes to show that thinking outside the box can definitely have its benefits. If you're able to make the correct meta read and figure out a certain type or a certain coverage combination that good teams are disrespecting, then it can end up working out pretty well for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.